Welcome to the Smart Driving Cars podcast. Thanks for tuning in once again. This edition is made possible by CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. I'm Fred Fishkin, along with the Faculty Chair of Autonomous Vehicle Engineering at Princeton University, Alain Kornhauser. Hi, Alain.
Hey, good morning, Fred.
Good morning. The cold weather's moving in, but we're all set, right?
I thought, what did the groundhog do yesterday?
I think there were conflicting reports.
Oh, of course. Aren't there always? I mean, and there's Groundhog Day all over again, right? Never mind.
Right. So let's turn to the latest Smart Driving Cars newsletter. On top, this headline: San Francisco officials describe chaos from Cruise Waymo cars as they try to slow their rollout. This piece in the San Francisco Standard says there have been 92 incidents over a 7-month period. In one, firefighters had to smash the windows of a Cruise vehicle to keep it from driving over hoses at a fire scene. The Verge also has a headline: despite mounting opposition, the Bay Area's robotaxis keep racking up the miles. You have some thoughts here, Al?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's so unfortunate that in fact you even have transit officials arguing against a mobility system that in fact can provide mobilities in the gaps where the transit system can't. And it's kind of a shame. It's the I guess they're going, to me, they're going after the wrong market. Okay. And as it's very well put in the first article, the quote from, you know, taking it to take self-driving vehicle for a selfie is the objective of the trip. As that's not what all the investment that's been made in this has been targeted towards. It's been targeted towards providing mobility, high quality mobility. And because of the automation, it can be made affordable. Why? Because at scale, that automation, it's a fixed cost. So at scale, it gets distributed over more and more, which unfortunately you can't do with a human driver. Because the human driver, you got to pay for him or her, every trip, and even when they're sitting around waiting. And most of that payment is for them to sit around and wait or to ride around empty, which if you look at the data from the Public Utilities Commission, oh my goodness, these things are riding around empty most of the time. What are they looking for? I mean, somebody to hitchhiking?
So, I mean, as you've pointed out time and again, it's a matter of how and where this technology should be deployed, is being deployed.
Yeah, I mean, it's one would hope that it's been developed with an expected return on investment, a value proposition at the end that's going to pay for all the research and test. I mean, we all love to do research and testing just for the heck of it, and not really. My goodness, where's the payoff? And if you're going to do whatever, 700 trips or whatever in 3 months, what do each one of those trips cost so that you have a return that's something like paying not only the operating cost, but trying to return something on investment of the 10 years that's been put into this thing? I'd hate for this to be my lemonade stand. I'd have to take the sawhorses and the 4x8 and put it back in the side of the house. Give it up.
Well, if you can extend the analogy there, I guess the idea is to put the lemonade stand where people are thirsty.
Yeah, I guess, and already don't have too much to drink. Because if they already have too much to drink, then your drink has to be better than theirs. And it's not that you can't and you shouldn't and whatever, but this is the beginning. And unfortunately, I guess we're finding out you have to learn to crawl before you can stand, before you can walk, before you can run. Anyway, to reach asymptotic profitability, you really need to be profitable along much of the trajectory. Maybe not the absolute beginning, but somehow, with everything, it's tough getting started. One wonders, how did Henry Ford actually really get started? We've most recently watched Elon getting started over the past 15 years. And at times, it wasn't pretty. And some people would say at times, even today, it's not pretty. But boy, there's some things there that, my goodness, are really beautiful.
We'll be touching upon some of that in just a second. Another report, the National Safety Council is recognizing the first anniversary of the DOT's National Roadway Safety Strategy. It says U.S. roads are the most dangerous they've been still in 16 years. The National Safety Council remains committed to this. I mean, the numbers since COVID, I guess we can say, right, have looked so bad.
It's not since COVID. It's since, 2012. It's been 10 years of this. And I guess we all saw that the upticks 10 years ago, and basically the encouragement for bringing automation in there to try to help on the safety piece. And in fact, it can, if in fact it's left on and turned on, and could do, because I don't know, it's my conclusion, and I think others also, that it's the misbehavior of drivers that lead to all this. It's the driving while impaired. It's the speed. And now the vehicles that are being sold with public subsidy associated with improving the environment are, bringing back the monsters, the Hummers, the 0 to 60 accelerations for exhilaration. What? I mean, it is really depressing. Or at least, one would thought that it would be little Priuses running around. No. And then, the Cybertruck is going to hit us. I don't know what people are going to go. I don't know if people, I don't want to say that the drivers of Cybertrucks are going to misbehave even worse than everybody else. I can't wait to be going down some highway and having one of those Cybertrucks running up my rear end. I'm gonna turn the flashers on my car. Get the heck away from me. Maybe, I don't know. I'm sure they'll all be nicely behaved. They won't go for the exhilaration of the acceleration 0 to 60 in 0.28 seconds, or whatever the ridiculous number is. And this is how these things are being promoted. I don't know. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're going to get into more of that in a second too, with the headlines coming up. We're turning over to Tesla. They've reported a boost in production at the Giga Shanghai. There's some other pretty positive headlines quoted on some websites as well that you link to in the latest newsletter. So things seem to be on the uptick after a pretty dismal last year for Tesla.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't call it dismal.
In terms
They
of, I guess,
they
their
beat
shares.
profitability
Right.
expectations and didn't meet revenue expectations. I think to me those are two positives. Holy mackerel, they made more money on less. Wow. In a marketplace, yes,
I guess what I meant was their
is
shares were pretty beat up last year, but
well,
this year,
sure, the shares, well, the shares were, I don't know. The shares had been, had been way too high, probably. And they're more normal. And even, if you really look, they really aren't normal. They're still high. Okay. I guess there's still people out there shorting them, thinking that they're too high. Okay. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, in 2021 there was a lot of stuff went shoom. In 2022, ba ba boom. um, Whatever, boom and bust. It's normal.
and you have links to some more excitement from SpaceX this week too. I mean,
Yeah,
they
I mean,
continue on.
I have a bunch of things linked that are just for fun. I guess, when you look at some of this AV reporting, you get so depressed you have to go find something that's going to make you happy. So you might as well watch a Falcon Heavy launch, and it is so neat to see the Falcon Heavy launch from Myrtle Beach, because you know what the heck it does. It goes up there, then they breaks off the boosters, and then somehow they have to stop and come back. you know and when the camera positions are just on the boosters, you really don't appreciate that stop and come back. but but viewed from Myrtle Beach from a distance, oh my goodness. Yeah, of course. And then whatever. So at least, but that's kind of easy, because that's largely F equals ma, and largely deterministic. All you got to do is get the darn thing to work, and you don't have fire hoses out there that you're going to run over. Or at least the FAA and so on makes sure that you only launch when there aren't fire hoses out there. So you know it ends up being a much easier problem. But and then I also put in there, because I tripped over it, which brought goosebumps and shudders and shivers to me, was the last whatever 10 minutes or so of the Apollo 11 lunar landing in what real time with all the communications. I mean,
Exciting times.
that,
Yes, they were.
oh my goodness. I mean, talk about baling wire and whatever. My goodness. Yeah. Hey, they made it. Would have been disastrous if they wouldn't have. And we did have a few disasters. We had the Apollo 1 disaster. We had the Challenger disasters. We've had our share of
That
disasters.
anniversary just
Yeah.
passed as well. So
Yeah.
there's a press release from Mercedes that you have in here announcing the U.S. launch of Level 3 systems. I guess you have a couple of comments here.
Well, no, I tried to not make any comments. I think Rod Maurer in the next article makes the appropriate comments. I mean, he is the Tesla guy, so of course he's not necessarily going to praise what Mercedes does, because in a sense, his view. I mean, he is somewhat biased towards Tesla, I guess. But just listen to him, and that's my comment.
And you have his comments too,
Yeah,
and
I have
his
those
video
comments
comments on
linked, and
Tesla,
and
right?
and it's yeah, it's whatever. This whole business of who's responsible for what happens both in terms of safety and legality when if you're the driver, then you're responsible. It's been made very clear. It's part of the business case of the auto industry. They sell it to you, and then it's yours, except for you know some flaws that they have to fix and so on and so forth. It's your responsibility to drive it safely and to drive it legally. Else you have to buy the insurance that makes up for any safety gap, and you pay the ticket if your rear light is broken. But now, if it's the computer, if it's this thing that's doing it, then it's probably he and she who made this thing that's not responsible for both of those things, I guess. Now, and that system is the speed is limited in the use of that system to whatever it is, 30 miles an hour or whatever the number is, very low number. Okay, and it's meant to really operate in stop and go congested traffic. Okay, but within that, if it lets you turn it on, then I guess Mercedes is responsible. I guess. Where, I haven't looked at the fine print. I haven't gotten my manual yet to read every word. But we better read every word. But certainly the implication is that they're going to take responsibility. You can sit out there and, pick your nose. And we'll wait and see whether or not there's a market for that and whether or not people buy it. One's a shock that people would put $15,000 down for FSD with Tesla. A bunch of folks have. I didn't see the pricing that Mercedes is going to make that available for. And we'll see if anybody puts that, buys it. Because if they buy it, you have to assume that they expect to get, value out of it that's greater than the value of the money that their perceived value of the money that they put on it. That's what the purchase decision is. The perceived value is greater than the perceived cost. I mean, that's the way we all operate. Sometimes we have to wonder about people's perception. What the heck were they thinking? I understand, but they did it. So we have to respect that. We'll wait and see. And, and apparently, in only Nevada, how many of those Mercedes spend how much time traveling in stop and go traffic in Nevada? Maybe on, whatever it is, 15 or 5 or whatever is outside Vegas, the Vegas Strip. But otherwise, I thought there was nobody in Nevada on roads. But maybe, what do I know?
Another headline, Alan, that's in the newsletter reads, UK unveils first fully autonomous bus service. And you have the word fully underscored here.
Yeah, I guess if Elon's allowed to use fully in whatever sentence he wants to use fully, everybody else is allowed to use fully in whatever sentence they want. I mean, this is about as fully as full self-driving. I mean, it has an operator, and I tried to look at what kind of service this bus is providing. It seems like it's conventional route schedule service. If you can get a computer to drive a vehicle, probably the last thing you're going to do with it is to operate it conventionally. You're not stuck to a route. You're not stuck to a schedule. Why are you stuck to a route in the first place? It's because you need a human driver. Why you stuck to a schedule is because, human driver won't sit around and wait for you. Can't afford him or her. You got to pay them, whether they're moving or stopped, and whether they have people in there or not. Whereas if it's a computer, I don't know what all these vehicles of Waymo are doing, running around in San Francisco empty on streets as opposed to sitting someplace and waiting. If you look at the shared bike business in New York, the bikes sit there and wait for you at a location to use them. You then use them and you put them someplace where they sit there and wait for the next person. And there's somebody out there who picks them up and says, well, nobody's going to show up here. I've got to move them empty somewhere else and put them someplace where they can sit and wait for a person to show up and use them. Okay, the folks that are trying to do driverless should pay attention to that. Okay, because to me, that's the operating strategy. And the operating strategy to modify a little bit from that is that, because these things can take more than one person, if somebody shows up to want to use one of these things, then maybe it should wait a couple more minutes to see if anybody else can show up to hop on with them. Because if you really want to save the environment, the way to save the environment is to ride share. And that doesn't mean you hop in with a human driver a la Uber and Lyft. That's not ride sharing. that it's called ride sharing, just like full self-driving is called full self-driving. Nobody really believes it is ride sharing.
Right.
Whoops, get myself in trouble here.
Again. So
I don't know. This isn't advanced stuff. This isn't rocket science.
And another layoff story, Rivian this time, laying off 6%, and the headline says again here. So, as you've said, it's not easy getting a company like this going.
It's not easy getting started. I don't think it's been easy for anybody. It wasn't easy for Amazon. Look, Amazon pre-2000 was, whatever. We're only going to have like 3 warehouses and whatever. And it boomed and then dove and barely made it.
If I recall, investors were getting pretty anxious. Hey, when are you going to show a profit, right? So.
Yeah, and whatever. Yeah, it's tough, and so yes, it's nice looking back to those who have made it through that initial period of getting started. It's all about taking the right first step, and it needs to be in the right direction. And you have to realize that if it's not in the right direction, that you've got to pivot. And I'm not sure the folks, maybe never mind.
We've been talking about that pivot for a while. So,
yeah.
Right. IEEE Explorer has a headline, Data Centers on Wheels, Emissions from Computing Onboard Autonomous Vehicles. I think this is related to, if I'm not mistaken, a report out of MIT, right?
Yeah, there's a study of MIT in which, somehow the bar on being, creating too many emissions is is a data center. I don't know, maybe a data center that's creating Bitcoins. I don't know. What the heck's the value of creating a Bitcoin? But whatever, let that be the measure. And somehow, we're gonna forecast what 95% penetration of AV into whatever market, and how much energy that's going to consume because of the computations that need to take place to be able to do that. And we're going to estimate that number based on current trends. I mean, what? We're at zero. Current trends are not letting us move very fast out of zero. Now we're going to take these current trends and extrapolate them to 95% penetration. So we're going to start at zero and we're going to look out here at the asymptotic value and say that, somehow the current trends are going to let us anticipate that eventual asymptotic value. I don't think so. Okay, so, somebody went through a modeling exercise. Yes, it's probabilistic. Great. It has a bunch of scenarios. Great. Are all the scenarios how they weighted? It's nice to have a bunch of scenarios, but you then have to, if you're going to have many scenarios, somehow, are they all equal? Is there some distribution? How did one scenario get more weight than another scenario? What's the weighting among scenarios? Oh, whatever. I'm sure it's in there. I didn't go look for it. I don't know. Whatever. How much energy did they use to come up with something that, when you get the answer, you say to yourself, so what? I don't know. At least that's what I say. I'm sorry. I don't have an appreciation for the good work that was done, but I'm sure it's good work. But I have some questions about some of the premises.
Moving on. Ford Ford is boosting production of the Mustang Mach E this year and lowering prices, following in Tesla's footsteps, I suppose. But there is one line in the press release that caught your eye, Alan, and you've already alluded to it. And that line is Mustang Mach E delivers 0 to 60 thrills.
Yeah. In the sentence that they use to promote the attributes of this vehicle, the first thing they can put in that sentence is 0 to 60 thrills. Now, I'm sure that went through a number of editors, a number of whatevers, a number of who knows what to make sure that that's really what they wanted to say. So if the top attribute of this vehicle, an attribute to try to get people to buy it so that they think they're going to get value out of the whatever dollars that they put in there, and that value is going to be greater than the value they put in the dollars that they pay for that, is 0 to 60 thrills. What? This is an amusement ride on public roadways? What the heck are you doing with the other people on the road when you're getting your 0 to 60 thrill every who knows how often? Really? I think that's irresponsible. Okay? The roads aren't there for the sake of 0 to 60 thrills. Go to Watkins Glen. And those 0 to 60 thrills should only be turned on, and it should be geofenced. To only be at Watkins Glen or on your private property.
There are
I
certainly
mean,
a lot
come
of
on. I mean,
attributes that could be promoted here that that are worthwhile attributes, but
sure,
that wouldn't
there
be
are
one.
attributes that the public sector thinks are worthwhile in this because they're giving, the buyer of that some public money to help them buy it. And those attributes are not 0 to 60 thrills. They're apparently because, some people believe that in fact this is going to save the planet. 0 to 60 thrills don't save the planet. I mean, I hate to be a downer on these things. Hate to be, I don't know. I guess I'm getting old.
One more headline, Alan, from the Wall Street Journal. The Justice Department is being urged to consider economic espionage charges against leaders of TuSimple, saying they have improperly transferred technology to a Chinese startup.
You know, I mean, we're in, we're in, I don't know, not a space race, but not a Navy race. And I think we're in an, and you know, and I guess it's important that at least the IP that is generated here stays here and or is properly compensated for. I guess that's what this is about. So, yeah, and it's not that TuSimple is it needs some TuSimple. It needs some simple they need some help right now. Otherwise, they're going to disappear. And this doesn't help.
No, it can't. On that note, Alan, we want to thank CARTS, the Corporation for Automated Road Transportation Safety, for helping to make this podcast possible. CARTS is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to safe and high-quality mobility for all. You can find us at smartdrivingcar.com, also on Anchor FM, Spotify, TuneIn, Apple, Amazon, Google, Spreaker, wherever you turn to for podcasts. Smart speakers can play us too. You can find my tech reports at textination.com. I'm Fred Fishkin along with Alain Kornhauser. Thank you for listening or watching. Have a great weekend. Stay safe.
Sorry, I wasn't very upbeat, except for, you have to watch the SpaceX videos and the NASA videos. I mean, maybe it'll bring a smile and happiness to your face.